All right. Well, we are off to an interesting start. Hello and welcome, everybody. Apologies for the delay. There was a bit of a mix-up and on the audio video communication, but everything should be going well now. Minus it's very dark in here, so apologies for that. But the audio should be better than last week, and Ed and I can hear each other. Thank you all for sticking around. It's Thursday night, so welcome once again to the T.A.N.K Show, where we try and spend some time acquiring new knowledge. I do have my buddy, pal, and co-host, Chattanooga Ed, who's on this side this week. There we go. Ed, as always, thank you for joining me.
Throw us back?
I'm going to very quickly. Yeah, I don't want to touch anything at this point.
I'm afraid
When I tried to get you that
also.
link, StreamYard, yeah, it kicked me out completely, and it made me relog in and get the email code and all of that stuff. So I'm not going to touch it. We'll just stay swapped. But I'm going to pull up the chat real quick on the other phone. That way I can monitor what's going on. I guess a little bit of an update as to what's been happening around here fish-wise. The biggest thing, which is not just fish related, but is also just living related, is that we did get the well installed. So 500 feet and a $30,000 loan later, we do have a well. Yeah, which is great because we got it installed and hooked up to all the houses right before the other one was getting cut off. There we go. Let me put this in live chat before I forget about it. On that note, I have not tested the new well water versus the old well water. I have used it. I water changed all of the 29 gallons yesterday, 5 of those. Then I water changed a couple other smaller tanks, and all of the fish have been getting well. Please don't unhook my cords, cat. We are house sitting some pets for the next couple weeks, or pet sitting. So we have a cat named Miko that we are watching that's over here investigating all of my cords and microphone and stuff like that. And he's,
Oh my gosh,
he's trying to knock the tripod over. All right. But that being said, the fish are doing well in that new water. Yeah, he's asleep. Miko, the one that we're babysitting, is not asleep. He wants to be loved, and he likes to brush up on things. So he thinks this tripod is great to run his head against. So we'll see how that works out. You all may end up in a piranha tank. That'll be interesting. We'll see how that goes. If I did have to guess on the water quality, I would say it's probably got a little less ammonia since it is tapping in deeper into a different water source than what we were previously tapped into. I'm having to hold the tripod because the cat keeps pushing on it. But I haven't dug out my test strips just yet. I've got about 8 totes of fish stuff piled over here to the side. I know they're right over there somewhere. I just need to get through it. But things have been interesting. That aside, and I do plan on doing a couple of videos and kind of updates and things. The current status of the fish room right now, we've got 3 20 gallons, 5 29s, 16 10s, and then like the little speck and the little 10-gallon cube from when Ed and I did the aquascaping at the big fish deal. The 110-gallon 6-foot tank is out on the porch. I've got to build a stand to accommodate that tank and the 529 gallons because of the shenanigans that happened when I tried to order that metal rack, and FedEx, I won't say they drove over it, but it looked like it had been driven over. It was god awful. So that's kind of the status of where we're at on everything. I did get the linear pump hooked up yesterday, so all of the sponges are on that one linear air pump I got from the co-op. Yes, and it's a lot less noisy as well. It was driving me nuts. I went from having 7 things plugged in over here to 2 things plugged in over here. I have the lighting system that's all daisy chained together, and then I have the co-op linear air pump, and that's it. So it helped with the mess, but it also helped with the noise of all of those smaller air pumps going. One of them was going out, so it sounded really, really bad. And I was actually having to turn it all the way down for the last several live streams just so it wasn't completely overwhelming. But hopefully the audio is better this week. I did manage to get everything rigged up, so we've got the Yeti microphone running, and Ed can still hear me. I'm going to pause myself here because I can't even watch my own stream. It's just buffering. But what I can do is look at the chat and say huge thank you to 85 people that we've got here right now. I do greatly appreciate you. Let me get back up as far as I can. We'll start going through some highlighted stuff. Sky Dancer saying hello to us. Hello, Sky Dancer. Always great to see you. Appreciate you being here. Paul Sotero, the awesome mod that he is, letting you know. If you want to get my attention or just mess me up, type @FishRoomFever before your question or comment. That will highlight on my screen, and that makes your question or comment stand out so we can read it. Rolling down through here.
Now, when James gets his place all set up, it's going to be so beautiful.
It will be. So that's another update I guess I could fill you all in on once I grab a couple more things so I don't get too terribly far behind in the chat. And that would be the status of the new fish building. So we'll update you on that here in just a second. Paul Steros feed is dropping in and out. I do apologize. I'm having to stream. Oh, actually, hold on a second. This turns the Wi-Fi back on.
We're also in the middle of an ice storm. It's going to get bitter cold, and it's been raining for hours, so it's going to be scary here.
Yeah. I've got to, as soon as I get done with the stream, I've got to go winter prep. I've got to go get a light out there at the well pump house because it's got a really fancy looking rock for insulation, but it's designed for not the temperatures that we're getting. It's designed to go a little bit above, but not as cold as it's going to get. Hopefully that fixed the dropping in and out. I switched over to my cellular network, which is still awful. I get 2 bars right here if I'm lucky in this exact spot. But it had kicked over to Wi-Fi, and that's horrible. I can't even load Google on that most of the time. But thank you, Paul, for letting me know the feed was dropping in and out. And we did have Mary Beth using that membership milestone super chat. Thank you so much for that. Been a member for 2 years. So Shuella has been putting up with me for 2 years.
Wow.
And it's greatly appreciated, Mary Beth.
That's
I've
awesome.
enjoyed every bit of it. And thank you so much for being a member, showing that love and support. I do have some member things going on, and we're going to talk a lot more about what's coming for the channel, not just live stream wise, but video wise, the type of content and the expectations that you all can have, not just every day, your standard viewers, but also the members as well. Because I've got some things planned that we're going to be implementing going forward that I think is going to make for much better content for you all, and also better for me as well, because it's really stressful as somebody that most of you know takes pride in audio quality and video quality and lighting, and has spent a lot of time and money setting all these things up in the past to do the best I possibly can for you. The stress level of dealing with the shoddiness of this internet and these stream qualities has been very frustrating this past month. So appreciate you putting up with us, Mary Beth. Thank you for being a member. Scotty Aquati, been a member for a year now on Team Snowball, saying Merry Christmas, everyone,
Scotty,
with that membership milestone super chat. Scotty, Merry Christmas to you and everybody else as well that celebrates. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and appreciate you being here. Appreciate your support as well, Scotty. Thank you so much for that. All right. I might actually get close to caught up anyways. So I'm going to pause right there. Well, here, let's get this from Leslie Perry that's highlighted. It says, still treating this. And it jumped on me. Thank you so much, Fish Tank Barn. I appreciate that. I'll get to that in just a second. While I'm scrolling back up, let's talk about the status of the fish house room build thing. So as I mentioned in the past, there is a 2-car garage, concrete floors, cinder block wall, already wired building on the property, 120 yards from here. Run into a couple issues. One of them was obvious, but I didn't know exactly how bad it was going to be. And that is that the previous owners of this property let a tree grow up right next to that building to the point that the roots on that are this big around. That's the root size. The tree is massive.
Wow.
And what it has done is it has actually ripped up part of that foundation, part of that concrete slab in the garage, and it has lifted the cinder block walls so that you see separation between the cinder blocks.
They do that sometimes.
Yeah, the roof was, it's got a tin roof on it. There are no leaks or anything like that. Hold on a second, because this cat is pulling this couch, and this is actually not my couch. It needs to be moved out of here. I don't want to die because this thing tore this couch. There we go. Sorry. Please stop, Miko. You're a sweetheart. Do you want to come here so I can talk and you can not destroy everything? No? Okay.
We can dress
So
up
had
like Clarks
considered,
and chop the tree down.
right? Well, we considered chopping the tree down, cutting the roots out, repouring the foundation, fixing the walls, all of that. Partially because it already has a meter run for power and it's got a breaker box already installed. Well, when we had the power company come out a couple of days ago to flip power onto that, that building does not exist in their system. They cannot find it. They say that there's no meter box there. It doesn't exist. They don't know how to find it. The only way to actually get power running to it would be to have them essentially do a brand new line drop. If we're going to pay to have a brand new line drop and meter installed, I'd rather do it somewhere else. That breaker box, upon closer inspection, also is one of the old style glass screw-in fuse boxes.
Yep.
So we've kind of abandoned that. We will be in the beginning of April starting to work on putting in a brand new building once some things come through financially and it's warmer, because you can't do concrete work in cold like this. Scroll back up here because it just jumped on me again. So that's kind of the status there. It is, however, a wonderful storage area, and I do have about 60 or so tanks out there. We'll see what I have to do in terms of any resealing on some of them. I know some already have to be resealed. They've needed that to begin with, but we'll see how this cold affects them here in the springtime, I guess, when we start working on that. So this is what you see in the next video that I have coming out will be, for the most part, how things will be for the next couple of months, minus building a rack and bringing the 110 gallon in here. But I look forward to sharing that with you all. I finally got back to hatching live baby brine. I've got to feed those out at some point tonight. But once I got that linear co-op pump hooked up, I went ahead and did that. I'm going to jump back in here real quick, get to Leslie's question or comment, whichever it may be. Leslie Perry, I'm also a member, appreciate that. So still treating this blood parrot for Hith, which is hole in the head for anybody that's not familiar. The white pimple things went away, but there's a dent in his head. Is he cured? Can I put him back in my 55? So if it were me, what I would do is I would probably just continue to keep him in that quarantine setup that you've got with doing what you've been doing for maybe another week or so if it was me. Just get a little bit more progression on it, give him a little bit more time to heal up. Oftentimes that dent never fully goes away and it's just kind of there. I've seen in minor cases where it kind of heals up really well, but oftentimes you still end up having where you can tell that there was an issue. But me personally, I would leave it another week. Just keep doing what you're doing. And then should be looking really, really good and ready to go to the other setup. But what are your thoughts there, Ed?
Well, I was going to ask you about I've never had to worry about hole in the head, luckily. But I mean, most of my fish have always been small. But is that really an infectious disease, or is it more of a water quality and stress? Because I would still wait another week, let it heal up. It's always going to have a dent in its head, probably.
Yeah,
that probably won't fill in, but it's great that he's getting better and everything. But I think it's more important to also get rid of as much water as you can in your tank. And I know that didn't that blood parrot come from a different place, and she took care of it from somebody else.
If I remember
probably
correctly,
got
yes.
sick that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes it just you can have perfect conditions and get hole in the head too, from what I understand. So, but I think you just want to try to make sure that your water quality is super clean too for your other fish, and when you put them back in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've not dealt with it for many, many years. Most of what I dealt with was saltwater, and then some with bigger fish, monster fish. Cat keeps going for the tripod. But yeah, I would just keep on and give it about a week or so. It should be really looking good then, and then move it over. So Abby Perfume Channel says, Fisher Fever, hello all. I have one question I'd like to ask. I am moving in a few weeks' time, and I have to move full tanks of fish. Do you guys have any suggestions to make it easy? So normally I don't say, hey, go watch this other video, but we actually did a live stream on this exact topic 2 weeks ago, I think it was. It was either 2 or 3 back. It's the Tank Show live stream, and I titled it "Tips for Moving Tanks." Come on, Kitty. Let's leave the microphone alone and come up here. Let's do that. All right. Because I could spend an hour, which we did, talking about that. In short, I would say try and make sure that you plan ahead for everything you can. Try and make it as easy as possible on yourself as you can in terms of if you have the ability to set anything up in advance before moving fish, that's great. If not, you can still do it. No, Miko, leave the tripod alone, baby. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff we went over in that. So I'm not going to rehash all of it just because that would take up the entire time of this stream. But I feel like if you got into at least the first 15, 20 minutes of that stream, that would give you a lot of good knowledge on what to do there. But yeah, we did an hour and a half, I think, on that a couple of weeks ago.
One thing we may not have mentioned in that one is if you're worried about cool temperatures when you're transferring it to your car, keep your car running, for 10 minutes before you take your fish out to the car. I mean, a lot of people might say that just makes common sense, but if you keep that car nice and warm and then put them in 5-gallon buckets or however bags, you're not going to have to worry about shock. But if you start off with a car that's 10 below zero, that's not good.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good point.
That.
I don't think we did. I don't think we talked about that aspect or the cold of it. Hello, Brianne. Brianne saying hello in the chat. And I do want to say a huge thank you. We've got over 100 people here. Do me a favor if you're hanging out. Hit that thumbs up. Smash the like button. Let YouTube know it's not quite so bad in here. Who knows? Maybe that might tell some more people about it. Let's see if we can get 100 thumbs up before the cat knocks you into the piranha tank. Please quit, kitty kitty. All right, on to the next one.
Life.
Yeah. Geek Boy says, who would be rude enough to make bad comments just to mess you up, Fish Room Fever? Nobody would. It's all in good fun. That's just what Polly says to throw that out there. Bob Purcell, asking thoughts. Susan would. Definitely. No, just kidding. We love you, Susan. Bob Purcell says, thoughts on reselling small tanks versus replacing. Most of the time on a small tank, unless it's some sort of custom or specialty tank, I'm probably not going to mess with it. Now, small is subjective, so where do I set the limit for small? I would say probably anything below a 30-gallon, and maybe even a 30-gallon, I'm probably not going to reseal. 55s and up, I will typically reseal. Please don't, kitty kitty. And I have a reseal 55, 75s, all the way up to, I think the biggest I've actually done so far is the 125, but I do have to reseal the 225 or 224 gallon. So little ones I typically don't, because you can usually find them on it's not technically the $1 per gallon sale anymore, but the half off sales that Petco does. Again, unless it's some sort of like custom tank. Like if it's something special, like say a fluval spec, I would reseal that just because those tanks aren't cheap. A lot of the rimless tanks I would probably reseal. The little cube I've got or some of the odd shaped tanks I would probably reseal just because those end up costing a little bit more, and so it's worth the investment in the silicone and your time to reseal that, as opposed to I can spend, I don't even know what it is now, we'll just say it's around $10, I'm sure, for silicone to reseal a 10-gallon tank and then invest the time resealing it, or I could just wait till it's on sale and buy one for $10.
And you may not get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always a chance we screw up sealing it.
All right, let me get back up here. A huge thank you to Spain. I saw that flash by there, and I'll get to it here in just a second. Watching from Spain. I appreciate you watching and appreciate that you enjoy the show. There was Bob's comment. Yeah, so temperature-wise, I see a lot of people mentioning that. We were supposed to get down to 5 degrees actual temp with wind chill in the negative 20s and 45-mile-an-hour winds. So
And that's
it's
insane for us.
that is, it really, really is. So it's going to get rough here, and I know a lot of places. Sketty Nanya says negative 10 in my house. Yeah, it's not going to be fun. I'm really, really hoping, fingers crossed, that we maintain power. Where we're at when power goes out, it's usually a couple days till they get it restored. That being said, one thing I am doing to be kind of proactive is as soon as we get done, I'm going to crank the central heat and air up to 80 and get the whole house up to 80, let the tanks warm up. Because right now I keep it at 74 because of the tanks. But I figure if I put it to 80 or 82, I might do 82. That'll probably bring the tanks up to around 80. If we do lose power, that's going to help them stay a little bit warmer, a little bit longer, help us stay a little bit warmer, a little bit longer. We do still have the old house. We haven't sold it yet. So the worst case scenario, I could always pack up the family and go to that one, but that doesn't do anything to the fish. So I think that that's probably about the best I can do here. I can't just run out and buy a generator. Otherwise, Lord knows I would. I do have some small power inverters I could hook into the car and run like the co-op air pump and some smaller things like that, the linear piston pump. But that's about all the stuff I can do in terms of trying to get ready.
I have the gas cranking in the fireplace right now, and it's about 85 throughout my area that my fish are at, and I'm just going to leave it that way. It's supposed to get down to 8 here, so 3 degrees difference. He's at the top of the state. I'm at the very bottom of the state. So it's kind of crazy that it's only a 3-degree difference for us even.
It is. Well, and that's also, so we're kind of up on the mountain where our houses are at. So I don't know what we'll actually get because I have no mountain to block it. Whereas if you're down in the valley, a lot of times the mountain catches a lot of that and protects from it. Mm-hmm. So we'll just see what happens. But hopefully everything goes well. If not, there'll be some content to be made from it, I'm sure. Here's one from Hip Hop Hillbilly that didn't highlight for some reason. It says, I'm thinking, Fisherman Feeder, thinking I'm going to get a pair of Epistogramma cockatoides Super Reds for my 10-gallon, highly planted, of course. Any tank mate suggestions? So if you're putting a pair as in a true pair, male and female, for breeding and not a pair as in just a quantity of 2, I don't know that I would really put much else in there. I have known them to be kind of territorial, aggressive, and really, I think you'd enjoy that just fine. What I personally would do, again, thank you, Mike. I saw that. I'm gonna get to that fish tank burn in a second. I keep thanking Mike because every time Mike does a super chat or a milestone, my chat jumps on me. But I personally, understanding that some of them are going to be eaten, pretty much anything they can find, I would throw a bunch of cherry shrimp in there is what I would do. Or you could do a different color of neocaridina's. But that's where I would go with that, just because I like having all that extra movement. Throw in some snails would be the other thing. Maybe do a clown pleco. I know a lot of people say 10 gallons is too small for a clown pleco, but they just don't get very big. You could look into potentially some coolie lurches. That would be another thing that I don't think they would mess with too terribly much. I'm going to pass it over to Ed before I take up all of the suggestions here.
Well, I'm going to go with kind of a hard fish to find, but it's a really fun fish. If you have algae problems, it's a other option from a Plecostomus is a giant autosynchilus. They don't require being in big groups of autosynchilus like the small autocats that we normally see, but they get about 4 to, well, probably 3 to 4.5 inches, about like that. And they almost look like sturgeons. They're really neat. They're super peaceful. They don't move. So, I mean, all the other fish will probably just think they're a log or something, but they'll just slowly clean everything. And you can see their eyes always looking around. And they're one of the more fun fish that I've had. So I would go with a giant autosynchilus if you could. I think that'd be pretty neat. I might see about getting 1 or 2 for my shrimp tank back here, because that a giant auto cat would be pretty neat.
It would be, absolutely. That's a good suggestion, and I like that, Ed. EJ's Fishes 76, been a member for 13 months, using that membership milestone in Super Chat to say happy holidays to everyone. EJ, happy holidays to you as well. Thank you so much for being a member, showing that love and support. It really does mean a lot, and it really does help out. The YouTube check, if you will, all the love and support made all the difference in the world in setting up the new fish room, and or not really new fish room, but getting the tanks moved and being able to do some things, and like going to buy and build the stand, which originally was just buying the metal rack. So that support is always greatly appreciated. There we go. Now I got to it. Fish Tank Barn, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Also been a member for, I think, over 2 years now, judging by the badge, if I remember correctly. Says Merry Christmas to all a good night. I added the last part. Yes, Merry Christmas to you and your family as well, Mike. Fish Tank Barn, I hope you're doing well, my friend. I need to get with you. I haven't talked to you in a while. So I need to chat with you when I get a chance. It's different. It can be tricky because I don't get service everywhere. So oftentimes, like, I'll kind of wander around, and then I'll hit a service spot, and it'll kind of dump a whole bunch of notifications on me. And then I kind of just have to stay in one spot and be like, okay, I'm currently responding to things right now. Oh, no kitty. No kitty. All right, there we go. And again, huge thank you, Fish Tank Barn, for being a good friend and for the support. I do really appreciate you. Dee Dee's Fendim, and a member for a year now. Thank you so much, Dee Dee. Says 1 year. Merry Christmas, Ed, James, and all. Merry Christmas to you as well, Dee Dee. And I do want to mention two things. One of which being we are wrapping tonight's stream up at 9 o'clock, and then you're going to be going over to hang out with Chattanooga Ed on Crafted. The second thing being that at some point we are signed up for Fish Fam Christmas. So some point, Santa Claus, maybe tonight, maybe next week, maybe
Mrs.
sometime.
Claus.
You don't know. But yeah, Mrs. Claus, you don't know. But we are signed up to do a giveaway on a couple of items. I don't have the list right here in front of me, and if I try and leave either of these things, I'm going to crash something. I know one of them is a $100 gift card, and the other one is a piece of art, but I don't have the specifics right here. And I meant to do that, but with everything going crazy on Ed and I trying to get started, it kind of got lost in the mix.
I'm trying to find a picture of one of my giant auto thinkless.
Right? Carlos Diaz.
That's why
by the way, I'm not just reading super chats and things, but that's what these are all back to back without any highlighted questions, and that's why you're getting them all together. Carlos Diaz with the $20 super chat. Kitty trying to flip the phone again. Says Merry Fishmas, James, and everyone. Here's to the new well. Thank you so much. I do really appreciate that, Carlos. That is awesome. That was, something that, we didn't initially plan to have to do in getting this property, but it is what it is. I'm just fortunate that it worked out that we were able to get, continue to have running water. We got that well hooked to all the houses the day before we lost access to the old well, because the old well is on a little quarter-acre section that has always been attached to this, but that relative died, and it went to a reverse finance company. And they are like, nope, we're shutting it off. We don't care if you want water. So it is what it is. But again, Carlos, thank you so much. Also a member, by the way. So thank you for that. Very much appreciate it. You get in through here. Brigham says, what are you doing? Are you doing the stream still? So we're going to talk a lot more about what to expect and what's to come on next week's stream. That one probably will. We'll see. I don't know if that'll be an hour and a half. I've got to talk to some people and work out some logistics. But there are definitely some changes coming, so that I can try and get you all the best content more frequently, which is going to be so much easier out here. I've just got to say I love it. The kids love it. The animals love it. I'm just able to get so much more done here than I could at the old house, and I have so much more room to do it. I know, Kitty, I know, but I need that microphone to stay up there, please. So we'll talk more about stream schedules and video schedules and what can be expected next week. And I'm going to keep rolling through here to grab some more stuff before I run out of time because I just might get caught up. Who knows? Hey, Gina. Hey, Scuba Steve. All you awesome people. Oinky, I see you there, and I saw you talking before the stream started. Oink Master Supreme Forever says, Ed and James, forgive if I'm in and out of chat. Day before yesterday, my 125 gallons started leaking from the bottom, with a third of it flooding and water in the walls from the holes in the walls. That stinks. That sucks. It does. I've been there, and I'm sorry to hear that, Oinky. I really am. I know that is no fun. I hope you're able to get everything patched up and taken care of and resealed, and that the damage overall is not too bad, and that you're able to take care of the fish. So totally understand being in and out, or even not being here. You do what you've got to do, and there's always the replay. And as always, we love you, Oink Master.
For sure.
Excuse me. Let me run down here. I saw something that was not highlighted. I don't see it anymore. Ow, ow. This cat that I'm watching, when it wants attention, it likes to just come up and grab you with its claws and pull, which is wonderful at like 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to sleep, and it does that to the back of your neck, which is what it did last night quite a bit. Leslie Perry said, I've never dealt with this either. The fish were dumped on me, so I'm new to this. Yeah, I mean, I said it's been probably 15 years since I had to deal with hole in the head, and that was when I was taking in a lot of bigger fish that people didn't have room for or couldn't properly take care of. And then saltwater too. That was another one. I think most of my HIT or HLLE, head lateral line erosion, actually was trying to take care of people's saltwater fish. Hey, freshwater ichthyology. Good to see you here. Yeah, and there we go. Sorry I didn't catch it all. Hole in the head is complex and connected to lateral line disease. Yeah, absolutely. On to the highlighted things here. I see a new local, Austin, said something's a great question, but I'm not seeing what the question was. Leslie Perry said, so the dent may never go away, but as long as there's no new white bumps in the next week, he's good to go back in his tank. I would say yes. In my opinion and experience, absolutely would. And then freshwater ichthyology is chiming in with a lot of good information there. She's got some more scientific quality content that I always enjoy, so I would take what she's or what she's typing in there, which I haven't read through completely, but I would listen to what advice she's giving there. All right, I got back on track fairly quickly somehow. 113 people still hanging out. A huge thumbs up to all of you all, and thank you. I do really appreciate that. It frustrates me so much that I can't bring you a better quality on here, so it's nice to. It makes me feel good. Excuse me. That you all are still hanging out and suffering through it. Leslie says, I did reseal a 10-gallon for practice. I was victorious. It didn't leak. So now I have faith I can do my larger tanks. Excuse me.
Nice.
And I'm going to turn it to you for just a second so I can get this cough out of the way.
Sure. Earlier I was showing some photos of the giant otocinclus. They are such a neat fish. Not too many people have seen them. I've seen them range from greens to brown. My local fish store, Aquatic. Oh my gosh, it's normally I have this ready, but I don't want to bother the cat too bad because he's sleeping. But Aquatic Aesthetics carries them quite a bit. And I've seen him get green ones and brown ones that kind of have like almost like a stripe. They're a neat fish. They do a great job. I put them in with my Beischer because I was afraid anything else I'd put in with the Beischer would be eaten. And these little guys, well, they were like this big. And at that time, the Beischers were about 9 inches long. And the Beischer still ate them. It was terrible. I saw the Beischer chomping. And I was like, what's it chomping on? And I went and looked. And the otocinclus, the giant otto, was just laying there with his eyes open, looking around, while the Beischer's just biting him, just chewing. And I got hit and the other one out, but neither one of them made it because they were so bit up. Felt bad, but yep, it's how it goes. And only Oscars, I am wearing glasses and I'm pretty close to the screen, so I can actually read some stuff. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, they were saying you got on 2 pairs of glasses. You're really prepared tonight.
Oh, I do. Oh, this is my good pair. I'm gonna put
Love
this
it.
pair on.
All right, so Nate's got a question here. Says, "Hey guys, quick question. I have a single angel in my heavily planted 55 gallon, and I want to add one more to have a pair. I can only find them around 2 inches, and my angel is full grown. Would this be a bad idea?" So, what I would do, again, were it myself, is I think you'll be fine with the 2 inch angel. That being said, the likelihood of you ending up with that perfect pairing by buying just one angel, letting it grow out, hoping that you get a male and a female, and having them actually pair up is possible. Yes, absolutely. But it is probably on the lower side statistically or probability wise. I would probably get 3 or 4 if you can do that. I don't know what angels are going for, which ones you're looking at price wise, if that's a viable option for you. But by adding several more to the mix, that does give you a little bit higher probability that at least one of those will grow out and pair with the one that you already have that you're wanting to find a mate for. And then you can always go back to the pet store, and angelfish is one of those things. Pretty much any pet store is looking to take back in. That's my thoughts. What about you, Ed?
Yeah, well, when I first got into angels was probably 25 years ago, which is showing my age, maybe 30. And I was told the standard is to buy 6 juvenile because you're going to hope that 2 pair up. And the guy that was telling me, he said, the standard is 6, so always buy a 7th.
Right?
And he said you almost always have at least 1 pair up. You might have 2, which would be wonderful. But the one thing you do have to think about, when they pair up, they get a lot more aggressive. So sometimes it's nice to have just happy fish that don't pair up, and they can be chill and pretty and everything like that. So if you just buy 1 fish, maybe you'll get lucky and there'll be 2 fish that aren't going to be territorial. They'll swim next to each other and everything will be happy. So, having eggs isn't everything. Beauty and grace and relaxation is, I think, a really underrated thing in this hobby.
It is absolutely. I agree with you 100% there, buddy. So Sarah J. Sieber says, Fish Room Fever, any easy ways to fix a center brace on a 55? Also, Merry Christmas. We are usually in the 70s and expecting in the teens. They already issued a state of emergency here. That is crazy.
Yeah.
So I have tried several different methods over the years. Personally, what I have found is it doesn't look the prettiest. And yes, a lot of times you can do like a glass center bracing, like a Euro bracing, and that can work. But what I prefer to do is more functional than aesthetically pleasing, and that is to get some steel or iron, some thicker metal. Usually, you can find things that are meant for other purposes and repurpose them. So when I do the 220 gallon, 225, whatever, it's like 224 point something. What I'm going to do is the same thing that I actually saw at Rusty Wessel's house with those exact same tanks, because they were horrible for the braces popping. And that is actually just take some metal beam, and then you go across, and then you have a lip that comes down on the front and the back, and let me set that down. The chat's probably going to jump. So you've got the pieces on the outside holding the tank together, and then the piece of metal over top. It's not going to bend or flex or anything like that, and it will keep it supported. I've tried other methods. They didn't work so well. That seems to be the best. If you've got somebody that's handy, they could weld you up something. Oftentimes you can find some metal that is designed for something else at a hardware store that's the right dimensions for you, or at least close. A little bit bigger is fine, because it's okay if that glass flexes just a little bit, but I wouldn't leave too much there. And you could always come in, if you had to get something that was, say, 1 inch too big, split the difference. You've got a 1/2 inch too big on each side, and take you just a little piece of trim wood underneath there for support to make it nice and flush. That's typically the way I deal with that stuff.
This is okay. This is probably really redneck way to do it. I don't know. But you can also notch a a 1x2
You can.
and
Yep.
paint it all black. You can stain it. You can spray it with plasti dip, and use that and notch it just right. And just, be wary of it because it's not super strong. But I mean, plastic's not super strong either. So you just want something to add a little bit of strength and, keep an eye on it over the years, make sure it doesn't rot out or something. But
Absolutely.
that's something I've seen. I haven't actually done it, but I've told myself if I ever need to, I will.
Yeah.
Because
No,
it's so much cheaper than buying a plastic thing.
It is. I've done that before. I just, even myself, who's not huge on the aesthetics, as long as something functions well, it just annoyed me to death. But I didn't pretty it up probably as well as you would have. But that is a great option there. There we go. How the turntables. Oh, go ahead.
I would make a whole canopy for it if I did do that. Like I made this whole top, this wood top to this tank. So I would probably make something like that. But, I kind of like doing the woodworking. So
Absolutely.
Pretty good.
100%. No, I like it as well. Yeah, that was my initial plan for the 220 was to do build a canopy kind of like that, of course, but bigger scale and have the bracing built into it. All right, I'm going to try and burn through these because we've got about 12 minutes left. Fish Tank Barn using that membership milestone super chat, been a member for 30 months. Getting close to that 3-year mark. Thank you so much, Mike. It says we're hitting 3 degrees tomorrow as well as a bunch of 6 to 7 inches of snow. Well, you be careful. I know you all are a bit more accustomed to it than we are here. But yeah, that's still cold. It's still more snow than a lot of people want. But again, Fish Tank Barn, as always, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for the support. It is always greatly appreciated. It's always good to talk to you, buddy. Gabriel's Glass Box, it says, I found a new replacement for the #1 spot on the top 10 must-haves for beginners. That is shop vacs / carpet scrubbers for emergency cleanup. That's not a bad one. I do recommend, I have on many occasions recommended to people, have a shop vac. I have one that's specifically for tanks, and it's not just for emergencies either. That thing is amazing. Like for when I was moving, you know how everybody here that's ever had to move tanks knows what a pain it is to actually get all the water and substrate out. If you get it drained down most of the way with your siphon kit, you could just take that shop vac in there, suck out the substrate, suck out the water, get it nice and dry, ready to turn on its side, carry it, move it, store it, put it on a truck. You just take that substrate, dump it in your 5-gallon buckets or whatever you're hauling it in, and you're good to go. Yeah, great one right there.
It's like so easy.
Let me get back up here. Oh yeah, absolutely. Excuse me, absolutely. Yeah, as Michael would say, I'm fine. Michael's Fisher, cough, cough. I'm fine.
I
haven't seen Michael for a while. All of a sudden. I haven't seen anything. I can't even watch YouTube out here, and it's very frustrating. But it is what it is. It's worth the.
Can the kids play games?
They can play like story mode. They can't really do anything online. So I'm hoping.
Oh boy.
The cable company's talking about having fiber out here within the next year. They're already out here taking pictures and stuff, and we'll talk more about that next week. But it's rough because I haven't been able to watch anything. That is, however, great for productivity, and I get a ton more done since I can't do anything else but work on stuff. Where's Gabriel's there? And then we've got our buddy Rico Stan. Rico, love you, buddy. Rico. I've been a member for 28 months on Team Snowball. Says, James, my friend, I wish this was something better, but I hope you and the fam have an incredible holiday. Those best wishes and your friendship mean a lot, Rico Stan. Don't need anything better than that. And thank you so much for being a member. Also very much appreciated. All right. Leslie Perry with the $5 super chat says, y'all are so great answering questions promptly. Thank y'all so much. Leslie Perry, thank you. And also thank you so much for the super chat. Always appreciated, but never expected. And we do put those to good use to do the best we can to make things better. All right. I might just get caught up before we wrap this thing up. TJ Autocross, always good to see you, TJ, with the $10 super chat. Says, wish everyone a very happy holiday. Thank you, TJ. Wishing you happy holidays along with everyone else once again. It's a great time of year. I wish it was a little bit warmer, is what it is. Thank you so much for all the love and support that you have given over the years, TJ. It is very much appreciated. All right. So much room for activities, somebody said. I don't know if that was in reference to out here, but yeah, we've got a lot of room for stuff out here. I mean, it's 26 acres total, so it's
that's great.
Lots of room for stuff. Salient asked if I got that generator ready. No, Jenny, unfortunately. There is a wood burning stove and the piping for it out in that 2-car garage, so could always rig something up with that. It wouldn't be the first time I built something to make fire on the fly. All right, I need the piranhas to stay in the tank and the cats to stay off the tripod, and we'll be good. Hillbilly Aquatic, been a member for 7 months. Thank you so much, Hillbilly. Using that membership milestone super chat, saying happy holidays to everyone. Love all these awesome members using their membership milestone super chats to say hello and happy holidays to everybody tonight. Appreciate you all, the support, and just the love that you all share. All right. I'm sure there are probably some things that did not highlight on my screen, and if that did happen, I'm sorry if I didn't catch it. Paul Stera saying, I have a trio of strange angelfish. They swim around the tank and mind their own business. Yeah. That is strange. That is strange. Awesome. Most times angelfish, yeah, that's awesome. That is definitely strange.
Unless they're a gang.
But yeah, that's what it is. Polly's got angelfish in a gang. I knew it, Paul. Knew it. The Whip's World with the $5 super chat. A member as well. Thank you so much, Whip. My brother from another mother says, go ram it. No KGT messes me up so bad now. Hiya, James, Fisher and Fever, and Chattanooga Ed. Hiya, beautiful people. Let's get tanked. Yes, absolutely. Let's get tanked. And thank you for the super chat, buddy. Always good to see you. I know that the new time has screwed up a lot of people. 122 people here. I can't thank you all enough. That means the world to me. Paul Stera is dropping a link in the chat there. Did drop a link for a website for replacement trim for your fish tanks. So if that's something maybe you don't feel like building or rigging something up, you can just buy the trim and put it on there. Agree. Craig Donner says every fish room needs a wet dry vac. 100%. All right. 20 Ricos behind, says Paul Stera. I'm going to see if I can catch up here. I think I made it to the bottom. Now, this may be lagging on me because, it's, internet here really, but I think I'm at the bottom. So if you have a question or comment that I accidentally missed earlier, feel free to throw that in right now, and I will be glad to answer that. Case in point, Abby Perfume Channel with another question says, I was just wondering how much do you guys know about axolotls? I would love to get one. So, kept axolotls, maybe not the most conventional way. The axolotl crew can be about as bad as some of the betta crew. I posted a short one time of my axolotl on sand and about got crucified for it. You're gonna kill it. It's gonna, and I'm like, yeah, I get that there's potential for substrate digestion in that, but please just go away. That being said, one thing for sure, you do need to have cooler temperatures for your axolotl. They can get a little bit warmer, and I did keep mine probably a little bit warmer than what the diehard axolotl people keep them at. But it is one of those things that you need to be aware. If you're in a climate or your house stays fairly warm, you're either going to want to invest in a chiller, which those are getting cheaper than they were 15 years ago, or you could always do some rigging like I've done. If I wanted a tank to be cooler, I had floor vents. I was running the AC in the summertime. I put a tank over an air vent, so it's got the AC blowing up on the bottom of it. That helps keep it a little bit cooler. We're thinking outside of the box, things like that. But definitely they need to be cooler. They do have some special dietary needs. And you kind of have to feed them fairly close to where they are because they're kind of derpy. They're adorable, but they're kind of derpy, and they don't really go like swimming around after food so much as like fish would if you're accustomed to keeping fish, not axolotls. If you can do a 20-gallon for one, that's great. You could keep a single one in a 10-gallon, but I really like 20 longs for them because you're looking for more. Wow, words just disappeared. Words are hard. You're looking for more space on the bottom of the tank than you are depth of tank. top to bottom. Hip Hop Hillbilly said, got a 55 from the 90s with wood trim, no center brace. If the wood is broken, resealing, is there a way to make it work without the brace? I don't want to buy new if a little work will save me money. 55 from the 90s, wood trim with no center brace. Now, I've got a 55 that's got no center brace because they did thicker glass back then, but it's still a plastic trim. Yeah. So what I would probably do, depending upon how handy you are, you could take and build a little wood frame for it. You could rebuild the wood frame. If it's got really thick glass, if we're talking like 3/8 half-inch thick glass, which is what my older 55 has with no center brace, you'll be fine without that because that thickness of glass is not going to flex like that really thin glass we get on 55s now. So if it's got super thick glass, or if it's like twice the thickness of what you see on current tanks, I wouldn't worry about the center brace. But yeah, you should be able to woodwork up some trim around it and make things work. Go ahead, Ed. I saw you had something to say there.
I've got two 55s that I've been gifted from two different people that just wanted to get rid of them. And one's a 1/2 inch thick glass and one's the thin. And I've drilled holes in both of them. And that thick inch stuff, you got to also think a 12 or a 55 only goes 12 inches back. So it's not holding nearly as much volume as water to be put on. I mean, I know it's a big surface, but because there's not as much water pressure, I think that the thick glass doesn't really have a problem myself either.
Absolutely.
But that's what the thick glass. It's like twice as thick. When I drilled it, I couldn't believe the differences.
It really is. That's one of those tanks. As much as I'm not a fan of the 55 footprint, that was one of the tanks that I decided to keep a hold of versus one of the newer 55s, just because of that glass thickness. Kind of like the 100-gallon I've got, the 5-foot tank. It's got super, super thick glass, thicker than even what's on my 90-gallon, which is a newer tank. So it is a lot taller. But yeah, water pressure is dependent upon tank height. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I used to hate 55s for a while there. I mean, at one time, 55 was the biggest tank I had, and it looked like a 200 to me when I first got it. But then it got to a point where I just thought it was a terrible shape and everything. But now I'm enjoying them again, putting live bears in them. Like I've got those wild mollies in there. And it's just a lot of fun because those wild mollies go up and they fill the whole thing, but they're such a small fish. I think it's almost a perfect tank for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You are not wrong, buddy. Nathan Hovey says, I have a 50-gallon with that thick glass, like thick. That's right, 2 C's thick. LOL. It's a more square, and it only has plastic trim around the rim and base. Yeah, there are some really nice thick glass older aquariums, and I love those. Anytime I can get my hands on one of those, I grab it because those are nice to have. Those are always worth a reseal, just in my opinion. If you get one of those, it's nice to have that. Going back to like the 125 that Oinky mentioned, and people were talking about like repurposing. I think Freshwater Ichthyology mentioned like we should do videos on like ways to repurpose tanks. One thing you can do, which plays into the bigger tanks and also thick glass tanks, is I've set some tanks aside in the past that I intended to take them apart versus resealing them and putting them back together. Like say your 125, you could actually take the panels off the front and back of that and use that for like a pond build those in for windows as your pond. So you could actually take that glass from 125, make a much bigger body of water. Kind of think like Joey's King of DIY, his setup, how it's wood, but then it's got the glass viewing areas. So that's always something to consider. You could build something bigger with that piece of glass as a viewing area and get more bang for your buck, so to speak. That being said, Ed, as always, buddy, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. 116 people hanging out tonight. Ed, what are we doing, or what are you doing on Crafted?
Well, we're going to do a special thing. I'm going to make some fish ornaments, and then we're going to not raffle them out, but give them out at the end. But I'm going to have you guys help me do it. So It's kind of going to be a twist on it. And then after me, if you don't like watching my show and you just want to talk fish, which you can talk fish all day long on my show too, because I love fish, but Skipper's going to be going at 10:30, and he'll be doing a show. So if you don't like me, come back for Skipper, because he's an awesome guy.
Absolutely. 112 people still here. Do me a favor real quick, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button, because YouTube tells me that I'm not allowed to have more than 100 likes on a live stream. So if we could hit 100 likes, that would be fantastic. If one of the mods would drop a link for Ed's stream coming up, because I do not have the auto crossover set up. I just didn't get a chance. I got home like 45 minutes before the stream started tonight, and I can't really get it to work on my phone. Mods, I would greatly appreciate that. If not, I'll run and do it real quick after we end this. That being said, thank you all so very, very, very much for being here tonight. A huge thank you to all the moderators, members, lurkers, listeners, super chatters, contributors, questioners, commentators, and of course the replay crew. Love you guys. Until next time, keep your fish healthy, keep yourselves healthy. Don't be afraid to catch yourself. Little fish room fever. Happy holidays, and I love you guys. We'll see you next time.